would like to thank you, Dr. Hannity, for inviting me.
Thanks. Thanks, Professor Dan, for your presentation. It was amazing presentations. We learned a lot. And now we would like to present Jeff. Go ahead, Jeff.
Good morning. Good afternoon.
Morning to you.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor to join you. My name's Jeff Gray. I'm I'm an underwater archaeologist. I may be the only underwater archaeologist here speaking at this, so I'm literally a fish out of water in this presentation, but I'm excited to join you and perhaps give a case study of some of the things that we've heard before and some of the discussions we've had. So my presentation is about how we've used innovation, creativity, and entrepreneurship to protect one of the world's most important natural resources and the history within that, and then as well try to grow the economy and the quality of life in the little community in which we live. But to start, it's important to just say where we're coming from here. I live up in northern Michigan, up here, the blue dot in the center, and I'm the superintendent of the Thunder Bay National Marine Sanctuary Program. I work for the National Marine Sanctuary System, which is the United States. Basically, it's our national parks of the oceans and Great Lakes, and our job is to protect the amazing marine and Great Lakes resources in our country, from whale habitat to coral reefs. I am in a special place. I live up in the Great Lakes. For those that are not familiar with the Great Lakes, they are truly one of the world's most important natural resources. As we think of what the world faces, freshwater is certainly going to be something that we need to deal with. 20% of the world's surface freshwater lies within these waters. And what I do is I manage a marine protected area that tries to protect the Great Lakes and the rich history that lies below them. Where I'm situated, the reason that we came, there are over 200 historic shipwrecks that lie below the waters of the marine protected area that I manage. The cold fresh water of the Great Lakes have offered unmatched preservation. These are some of the best preserved shipwrecks in the world. Again, about 200 of them are out there. We found about 100 of them. We keep searching for those. And we use those to talk a little bit that our job is historic preservation and providing access to these sites at the same time. But we use the excitement of these shipwrecks, not just to get people to care about the shipwrecks themselves, but to get them to address some of the issues that are facing the Great Lakes, and how we can use that and draw more people in to care about the Great Lakes and take action. And one of the ways that we do that is really through innovative and creative programs and partnerships that really try to connect people to these resources. The Great Lakes are if I could boil my job down, is like we try to get people to care about something that needs more care. And the Great Lakes and the history below there is that. And so by creating programs and connections to people to the lakes, we try to build public will, and then where we can take action and draw more protection. And when I listened to David's presentation in the beginning and the 7 rules of innovation, hopefully you'll see some of those. David, I'm going to buy that book and read it. There's some great stuff I saw in there, and thank you for sharing that. And what we're trying to do, I should say a little bit about the community in which we live. We're about 4 hours north of Detroit. We're one of those communities that Dan spoke about earlier, where it was a natural resource-based extraction area, and we're trying to make the shift into the new economy. Very high unemployment, low college education attainment. And what the sanctuary and our partners are trying to do is, how can we use these amazing resources that are lying in this community's backyard to make this community a better place, not just to visit, but for the people to live and to thrive and to grow businesses. But connecting people to these sites, the innovative and creative ways that we've tried to do that. The shipwrecks have always been there, so the archaeologists and the divers and the people that wanted to go visit these sites already were there. But what we've tried to do is, how do we increase that circle and bring more people to care about them? And that's what we've done is really work to connect people in this community and from around the country and around the world to these sites through different programs, while trying to protect the sites as well. And it's often thought that resource protection and conservation are contrary to economic development. And what I think we've shown in our program, and the National Park Service and parks around the world have shown, is that conservation and preservation can be economic drivers, not hindrances to economic drivers. And our Chamber of Commerce, both at the local level and at the state level, has really embraced this protected area and seeing how it can, again, improve the quality of life. In our management documents, we really try to think about economic development, quality of life, and resource protection, and how they come together, and try to create the entrepreneurial climate using these very unique special resources, and create opportunities in this small community that lives out in the hinterland. And I believe David was talking about the ecosystem and defining the ecosystem. What we really are doing, we are protecting an ecosystem, but trying to use this entrepreneurial ecosystem to do that. The way that we try to do this is we really have a four-legged stool: resource protection, education outreach, research and monitoring, and community engagement. And Larry Molnar, who's one of the organizers of this whole event, has been worked with us and really helped us and helped foster this idea of incubating research and development. And so what we have tried to do is, how do we attract creative people? How do we attract entrepreneurs? How do we attract innovative people to this, again, remote community to do their work? Not all of them are going to come here and move and live here, but we want them to come and do their research and invest in the area. And when they do that, we want to make sure that we're fostering the next generation of creative and entrepreneurial minds. And we'll talk a little bit about that. And I could talk about how we use that incubation theme in all four of these segments, but I'd really like to focus on our research and monitoring end of it. We do active research out in the lake, trying to understand the lake. As I mentioned, finding the shipwrecks, discovering the shipwrecks, but it's also more about understanding the habitat, how climate is affecting this ecosystem, the change of invasive species. And so we have researchers on our team that do this work, but we can do more work by making the circle bigger and attracting more people to that. And what we've really worked to done is talk about, very similar to what Dan did with the university centers. How do it's not an official incubator, but if we have all of the resources here, the boats, the divers, the housing, if we can make it as easy as possible for the creative minds from around the world to come to this place and do work, it will drive people here. If we provide them good customer service while they're doing their work, they will keep coming back. And we've seen that. We've been very fortunate to the Great Lakes, as I mentioned in the beginning, is fresh water. So it is, and it's a smaller body of water than the ocean. And so we've been able to attract people that are developing new technologies to come and test that technology in fresh water. First, it's a little more forgiving than saltwater if something goes wrong. While the Great Lakes are fierce in their weather and patterns, it's easier to work in than the ocean. So we've found a niche where we can have folks come and test technology. And this is an autonomous mapping vehicle that is being tested that came here last year. It's associated with Dr. Robert Ballard, the individual that found the Titanic, and it came to do some searching for shipwrecks and mapping the bottom of the bay. We've also tried to, while it's the shipwrecks that really brought us here, we are really focused on protecting the Great Lakes. And in those discoveries, we found many innovative researchers to come here. The image on the right is a sinkhole that we discovered where there's a zero oxygenated bottom there because of some sulfur, and the bacteria you see growing on the left is there where University of Michigan and researchers from Germany are studying these for bio and pharmaceutical practices. The image on the bottom right is a group out of Israel that started to develop some concrete technology for armoring shorelines, which is needed for infrastructure around the world, but it also is very difficult on the ecosystem. And they have EcoCrete, which is a new armoring type technology that attracts marine growth and helps foster that. So where armoring has to take place, it's allowed to grow. That growth of marine organisms, and it even strengthens that armoring more. So we've been very lucky to have different innovators from around the world come with us. And we have been fortunate that this idea of incubating and attracting folks to bring people here has helped shine a light on not just our little community, but on the Great Lakes in general. The upper left image, that's Jean-Michel Cousteau, Jacques Cousteau's son, who came to do some research here. The upper right image is Dr. Ballard, again, the individual that found the Titanic and PT-109 and the Bismarck. Basically, any vessel there's a song about, he probably found it. And we've had about a dozen or so different world-renowned researchers come here to do work in the sanctuary. They're doing real research for us, but at the same time, they're producing documentaries which help tell our story, which we use in our education programs, again, to inspire the next generation of innovators. But then those are also used to promote our area. When those air across the world, BBC has done an episode on us. It tells the world about the Great Lakes, and hopefully that drives some tourism and folks to think about coming to visit us. One of the projects that I think really in all of our research that we do, and nearly all of our research we do, we try not just to do research. We try to figure a way to go back to that early slide of how do we engage the public? How do we get people to care about that? And one of my favorite projects we've done was Project Ship Hunt, where Sony and Intel invested a fair amount of money into producing a documentary that featured their technology as we searched for a shipwreck. And we brought some students along for the way, and I have a 1-minute video clip from that I'd like to show you, just to give you a sense of how we can blend doing real world research to protect the sanctuary, but then inspire the next generation of researchers.
The hazards in Thunder Bay have accumulated a great number of shipwrecks.
If you go in that water, you don't have long to live. That's the reality, even for us today.
This is a massive water highway. Lots of ships, bad weather, fog, human error. Accidents are bound to happen. Hence, we're Shipwreck Alley.
There's a lot of shipwrecks, but not all of them have been found. And so what we're going to do is go find one. Today, thanks to the power of these Sony Vaio laptops with a second-generation Intel Core processor, we're able to take millions of data points, peer down thousands of feet, and find shipwrecks. And yes, there will be adventure.
He was going to do something out of the box, something different, something that people don't normally do.
I'm a small town guy. I've never done something this big.
This would be a cool experience to learn things beyond my horizon.
Oh, you got something right in front of you. Hey, you guys see that? What are those?
This isn't just a ship hunt. This is a lesson about life.
Now, I wish we could take every student in Michigan and beyond on an adventure like that, but we can't do that. But we have developed strong, hands-on, stewardship-based programs where we try to get students out into the waters. I mentioned we're a low economic area. We live on one of the most incredible natural resources on the planet. In the early years when we started here about 18 years ago, we did some surveys, and about 70% of the students in our area had never been on the lake before. And what we realized, if we wanted to get this next generation to care, we had to find programs that got our residents, not just students, next to the water, on the water, under the water, above the water, and we really strive to find ways to give experiences for students where they can do that. I have one other short video to talk about how we're using technology to create this innovative attitude in the program. And what happens with this, when we have a Dr. Ballard or a Jean-Michel Cousteau come, it makes the people of this community believe in their community and rise the value of what they think in the community, the pride of the community. And we've seen that with our student programs.
Run through your list of archaeology observations one more time. Make sure that you have as much information on each wreck as possible.
My name is John Capeless. We're at Alpena High School. Shipwreck Alley is a class that was designed to cover all aspects of marine sanctuary operations. So what makes Shipwreck Alley exciting is that I can create some pretty powerful learning opportunities for the students. The class is really built around earth science. This is an earth science classroom. Shipwrecks run aground, so we can talk about some of the unique geology. And then we move on to meteorology. Storms, fog, wind, waves, they all cause shipwrecks.
Imagine yourself out on the Great Lakes in November.
Talk about resources, natural resources in the region. Then we do some archaeology, which really opens up opportunities to work with the sanctuary. And in the end, we tie it all back into lake ecology and how the lakes are changing and how we keep the ecosystem thriving.
We're looking for propulsion type, right? So if we want to identify the ship, we have to figure out if there's any machinery that indicates it's a sailing vessel or a steamer.
I couldn't wait to connect the sanctuary with my students because I knew they could create opportunities for my students that I couldn't do alone.
Thunder Bay National Marine Sanctuary is like a museum under the sea.
Everything that we do that's really cool in this class has marine sanctuary hands on it. They feed us a lot of the real world information that brings that learning alive, and they create the fieldwork opportunities, or they help me find fieldwork opportunities.
Check out one more wreck. We have time for one more. Yeah.
This particular class, Shipwreck Alley, doesn't exist anywhere else in the world. We started with a pilot program of 30, one class, 30 students. The next year we went to 3 classes, about 90 students, and then we went over 200 students the third year of the program. The idea that we're exposing 2/3 of every kid who graduates from Alpena High School to Thunder Bay National Marine Sanctuary and its mission and the positive effect it has on the community, I think that's a powerful thing.
When I think of David's presentation and the definition of innovation and how it's a new value for society, it adds new value to society, that's what we're trying to do, trying to innovate to protect these resources, but then give a new value to our community, to our state, and to our region. And through the cluster that he also talked about, we're trying to cluster this as a research area, try to cluster it as an education area where we're providing unique education experiences for folks. And as Dan mentioned, we're doing that in an area that has been hit pretty hard economically, and trying to take advantages of this idea of incubating not just businesses, not just researchers, but we incubate those teachers like you saw with Mr. Capeless there, where we spent years working with him, giving him the resources he needs, and now he's touching hundreds of kids each year. We do also work as a tourist destination. These shipwrecks, while they're amazing as archaeological and historical sites, they are great recreational sites, some of the best shipwreck diving in the entire world. So we work with our local tourism company to attract people there. We have a large visitor center where we get about 100,000 visitors a year in a non-COVID year. And it's a touch base. It really is the hub of the wheel, where you come into our visitor center and discover the amazing resources throughout the region, and that helps drive the economy. And all of this comes together by, I think, the theme of this presentation, when we looked at some of the goals of innovation, creativity, and entrepreneurship. For this case study is using those things. What we're really doing with there is building stronger, more resilient communities that can deal with something like we're dealing with today with a COVID and a pandemic. And it's been an amazing journey. Our vision, this is what we're after, and I'll end with this. This is what our goal of our program is. How can we spread this? And I think it's a bold goal, but it's really how do we bring more innovative, creative, and entrepreneurial people along with us to help achieve this vision and mission that we talked about. Thank you.